Inequality is a poison that is destroying livelihoods, stripping families of dignity, and splitting communities. From education to employment, housing to trust in the police, politicians from all parties must understand the different issues affecting individual communities. We can no longer pretend that business is immune from the rising tide of environmental or social challenges, or that companies can create value in isolation from the communities of which they are a part. Cove is essentially a collaboration, coordination and communication tool for the administration of organizations and communities. From the Stanford Graduate School of Business Entrepreneurship Club to church groups and schools. Budgets are moral documents. They reflect the values of any government, and when you're compromising clean air, clean water, and lead, you're making a statement about communities you don't care about. Where civil society is welcomed, communities are more safe, more secure, and more prosperous. The human murder by poverty in Latin America is secret. Every year, without making a sound, 3 Hiroshima bombs explode over communities that have become accustomed to suffering with clenched teeth. I hope that when we stand up to those who oppress our communities, that Allah accepts from us that as a form of jihad. Strong communities are built around local, real food. Food we trust to nourish our bodies, the farmer and planet. Early childhood education remains one of the strongest investments we can make in the long-term success of our students and the long-term economic strength of our communities. The relationship between renewable energy sources and the communities we expect to host them must be appropriate and sustainable and, above all, acceptable to local people. Social cohesion was built into language long before Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. We're tribal by nature. Tribes today aren't the same as tribes thousands of years ago. It isn't just religious tribes or ethnic tribes now. It's sports fans, it's communities, it's geography. Diabetes is a serious illness that touches the lives of so many of our family members, friends, and communities, and we must do all that we can to raise the awareness of this disease. Education is the cornerstone of our communities and our country. Once you have an innovation culture, even those who are not scientists or engineers, poets, actors, journalists, they, as communities, embrace the meaning of what it is to be scientifically literate. They embrace the concept of an innovation culture. They vote in ways that promote it. They don't fight science and they don't fight technology. Freedom without rules doesn't work, and communities do not work unless they are regulated by etiquette. When strangers start acting like neighbors, communities are reinvigorated. Coming together should be considered something positive for people and communities. When thoughts come together, that can be more positive than an individual thought. I believe it's our responsibility to show our communities the value of all people, to celebrate different, and to take a stand for acceptance and inclusion. We're giving consumers the tools they need to see medical professionals virtually, to Skype with the doctor instead of wait in her office, to self-monitor vital signs, to connect with health-related communities, and to choose physicians based on reliable data about outcomes and cost. Global warming is a real threat to our communities, to everybody, to everything. History is filled with tragic examples of wars that result from diplomatic impasse. Whether in our local communities or in international relations, the skillful use of our communicative capacities to negotiate and resolve differences is the first evidence of human wisdom. Drugs ruin people's lives, break up families, and have disastrous effects on our communities. I was born in Germany and grew up immersed in international school communities. I was in the German bilingual track, spent a few years in rural Canada, and then went to the United World College of the Adriatic in Italy. Parents should continue to become more involved with their communities, and more involved in their children's education. Technology tools such as laptops are the kind of help that we need. A program that provides laptops for all youngsters would close a gap that most of us are not aware of, or will not admit to, which is a tremendous gap in the poor communities. It's good to put money back into communities. The fourth industrial revolution has the potential to empower individuals and communities, as it creates new opportunities for economic, social, and personal development. But it also could lead to the marginalization of some groups, exacerbate inequality, create new security risks, and undermine human relationships. We are stronger as a group than an individual. Think in a cooperative and communal way, set up local food hubs and create growing communities. Human beings will be happier, not when they cure cancer or get to Mars or eliminate racial prejudice or flush Lake Erie, but when they find ways to inhabit primitive communities again. That's my utopia. We live increasingly in a world of haves and have-nots, of gated communities next to ghettos, of extreme poverty and unbelievable riches. Some enjoy rights that are completely denied to others. Relative inequalities are exploding, and the world's poorest, despite all the advances of globalization, may even be getting poorer. All animals communicate. What's special about gossip is that it's not about the here and now. You don't gossip about lions. You don't gossip about clouds. You only gossip about other people. And once you do, you can keep track of many more people. This is the basis for forming larger communities. Our communities are reeling from poverty, from unemployment, from discrimination of all sorts and different interactions that they're having with the law enforcement, and education system, and so on. I come from a long line of strong and confident women out of New Orleans. My grandmother and great-grandmother were women who ran their homes and were leaders in their communities. I was never taught that there was anything that I couldn't do, and I believe that individuals will achieve healthier lifestyles when prevention and wellness programs are accessible and available in their workplace, through their health provider, and in their communities. Tolerating evil leads only to more evil, and when good people stand by and do nothing while wickedness reigns, their communities will be consumed. The pathway to housing should be fair and equitable for everyone, and access to affordable housing is the infrastructure people in our communities need to elevate families into the working class and the middle class. It is the foundation that helps people support their families and contribute to their economies. Every day, in every city and town across the country, police officers are performing vital services that help make their communities safer. In my life as an immigrant living in low-income communities, as an emergency physician and as a public health advocate, I have seen more preventable deaths than I can count or recall. Even in the most peaceful communities, an appetite for violence shows up in dreams, fantasies, sports, play, literature, movies and television. And, so long as we don't transform into angels, violence and the threat of violence, as in punishment and deterrence, is needed to rein in our worst instincts. Law enforcement must be guardians in our communities, not warriors against our own people. Racism is not just slavery and Jim Crow. It is the daily violence that is enacted on our communities each and every day we live in this white supremacist society. I realized if you can change a classroom, you can change a community, and if you change enough communities you can change the world. The Patriot Act removed major legal barriers that prevented the law enforcement, intelligence, and national defense communities from talking and coordinating their work to protect the American people and our national security. The answer to the problem of inequality is for the people who are fortunate enough to either have been gifted or deserved more to do everything they can to make the communities around them as strong as they possibly can. I have long believed that there are fundamentally two forces or emotions that drive our decisions, love and fear. Love has its many manifestations: compassion, gratitude, kindness, and joy. Fear often manifests in cynicism, anger, jealousy, and anxiety. I worry that many of our communities are being driven by fear. Until affirmative action is described and understood as one mechanism by which to make amends for historical wrongdoing against members of marginalized communities, it will fail to meaningfully address the inequality that exists as a direct result of federal policy. We are a nation of communities, a brilliant diversity spread like stars, like 1,000 points of light in a broad and peaceful sky. Early marriage is most prevalent in communities suffering deep, chronic poverty. On housing, education and skills, health and social care, transport and economic development, local government is better placed to make decisions in the interests of local communities. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.